Hey, I'm back again for another daily update, and right now I am hot, I'm sweaty, I'm dirty, I'm just really tired. But I do now have a fully working toilet. Not that I didn't yesterday, but it's a different toilet now, having spent the day replacing it. I started this DIY project yesterday on Saturday and managed to get the sink done and the old toilet out. But then I had a problem with the new toilet not fitting quite in position. So today has been fitting the old one as best I can and then boxing in and making things kind of work so that the system's up against something solid. And anyway, it's actually looks a lot worse now than it did when I started because I've ripped all the tiles off the wall and there's things kind of left all over the place. But I still feel very triumphant having having done something that I wouldn't normally have attempted. My father-in-law came over and he gave me a hand with things as well. But I just kind of felt really, really confident going into it that I'd be able to figure it out. As I said, I've been watching some YouTube videos, and my goodness me, what you can learn from YouTube these days. But anyway, today I said I was going to divulge a little of the feedback that I had. On Friday I had this feedback, and I was over at a client's house, and I'd given a talk for his company a couple of months ago, and and he said to me that he'd had some feedback, and he'd also watched the video. He wasn't there at the actual talk, but we had watched the video of me delivering it, me presenting it. So, and he had suggested I watched it as well, which I had done. I kind of talked a little bit about that in a previous video. Now, going over to see him, I was aware that I was quite not apprehensive, but certainly it was on my mind a little bit. You know, he'd said he had some feedback. He didn't say it was good or bad or whatever, just that he had some feedback. And so I was driving up to his house and thinking to myself, wow, I wonder what it could be. And I kind of found myself feeling a little nervous perhaps about it. And a little nervous and apprehensive perhaps is the best description. Anyway, I was aware at the time that I was experiencing this, and I just kind of found it interesting because it's like when you get feedback, it's like somebody else is actually telling you what they think, right? And that's the point. And we know that we learn from feedback. We know that we learn from being told things. And I do believe that being told that you're good at something is great for the ego, and it's good to feel good about those things. But you only grow from the things that you have pointed out or shared with you that are perhaps things that you can work on. In Toastmasters, I've been very used to this over the last 8 years. When you do an evaluation, it's like you have, well, this was really good. Here are some points for improvement. And then this was also really good. It's kind of the praise sandwich or the shit sandwich that some people call it. Good, not so good, good. So, and that was pretty much how things rolled when I got this feedback at the end of our session with my client. So, the kind of two main things. The first thing was that I really took away from it was that he said he thought I was very engaging, and I was a very good storyteller. Now, there were a few other things as well, but that was the thing that really kind of resonated and meant the most to me. Not just because of kind of who he was and what that he was saying it and somebody else was saying it to me, but the fact that that's something I have really worked on over the last few years is getting more stories into my talks and kind of telling a story, making a point. I mean, even literally 18 months ago, I was still really having to work at this, and I wasn't, I was struggling a little bit with kind of making the stories natural and work and everything else. So it was great that was sort of identified as being something that he thought was good. Now, the thing that he thought definitely needs some work is fairly fundamental, and actually, I don't think that it's the case for all of the talks I give, but certainly for this one, I can see where it's coming from. And that was that there wasn't a very, very clear and simple point to the talk. Not just a point, but a clear message as to what to do next. Now, I wanted the message to be, and there were several kind of supporting messages, but I wanted the main message to be at the end of this, like, go and use this wonderful well-being portal that you now have. And that was kind of a new thing. They were launching it in the company. And I wanted that to be the key message, and I kind of kept coming back to that. But it was really interesting to have that feedback. And also, he'd got feedback from other people in the company who had independently said wasn't really sure exactly what we should do. They thought George was really nice and was very engaging, was very good, and like a lovely guy. They were kind of some of the things that he'd told me, I guess maybe to soften the blow slightly. But there wasn't a very clear point, was how it had come across. So I'm going to watch the video again and see where I could be clearer about that point. That's kind of what I've decided actually just then, literally just then. I'm going to watch the video again without gritting my teeth too much, clenching my teeth too much, and I'm going to find where I could have improved. Now, that's not something I've done before. I've taken feedback. I've never gone back over it and said, well, if I was going to do that again, how would I make it better? But I'm going to take that step this time because I want to take this really seriously, and I want to make sure that I know I can find a way of bringing that feedback into the talk in order to improve it, not just how it comes across, but its effectiveness. Nick, actually, he said something interesting. He said, you're better off being likable and engaging without a really clear point than you are being really boring and having fantastic content. Now, I believe I can have fantastic content and be very engaging. So if I can go back and I can sort of marry those two things up, then that's going to be awesome. That's going to be my kind of, I'm going to finish up, and that'll be the thing to kind of draw the whole thing to a conclusion. And then maybe not. Maybe a step further than that, I will go back to him and say, look, Nick, this is what I've done. This is what I'd do next time. This is how I'd change things. How do you think that would have improved? And get some more feedback on that hypothetical. Anyway, that's the feedback that I had. Feedback is like a gift. It's something that somebody gives to you, and then you can choose what you do with it. You can choose whether you're going to agree with it or if you're going to disagree with it. But still, you've been given the gift, and I believe that any kind of feedback, you have an opportunity to learn something from it. And the interesting thing with this is, I probably wouldn't have picked that out as being something that was lacking in the talk. There were many other things that I thought were lacking, but that wasn't one of them. So to have seen that from the other person's perspective, from the audience's perspective, that's such a valuable insight that you don't normally get. Normally you finish a talk, you give a presentation, not just me, but like anybody, right? What do people do? They pat you on the back and say, great job, well done, mostly because they're glad that it wasn't them up on the stage giving the talk. So you normally get platitudes of, well done, that was fantastic, but you never really get that critical feedback that you can learn and grow from. But that's the thing that really, really counts. And I think I've talked about this before with regards to momentum. Last year's momentum in particular, I struggled somewhat with receiving some feedback that wasn't so awesome. And I brought that into this year's session, and it made such a big difference. When I say I struggled, it's just you receive something, and actually it's when you agree with it, when you know that it's the case, but you kind of hope that nobody else noticed it, and you realize that you weren't getting away with it, people were noticing it, then it can kind of start to hurt a little bit, because you realize you've just got to step up and do something about it. And that's the way I kind of look at this. It's not a comfortable thing to be told, okay, this is missing, this was lacking, but it's such a incredibly valuable opportunity to grow and evolve in a huge way. So anyway, obviously this is also something I will feed back into future speeches and presentations as well. Like I will hone things down and make sure I start with that, and I can answer that question absolutely categorically. What is the point? What do I want people to do? Specifically, what do I want them to do after this talk? What is the big call to action? So there we go. That's my update check-in for the day. I'm going to go and have a shower now. Unfortunately, I haven't done the new bath and shower in the new bathroom, so I have to go and use my other bathroom. And then I will be back on track. I've done some planning, done some prepping, ready for the week. I'll be back on track again and give you another update tomorrow on how things are going. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, do all those good YouTubey things, and I'll see you tomorrow with another update. Bye for now.